Hey everyone, welcome to Team Amasian's Wrestling Smack Talk. We don't have a title for our podcast, but we are talking wrestling and wrestling news every week. Brought to you by myself, Kaori, Takee, and the lovely
and Campia.
All right, guys. Well, today I think we're going to mainly talk about the big layoffs and the furloughs and all the controversy that WWE as an umbrella has been undertaking. It's quite a bit. It's quite heavy. I'm going to try not to be too opinionated. It's a little difficult because I love this brand, but I also get frustrated with this brand. Yeah.
Say what you want. It's your podcast.
Right. All right. So, I mean, there's not much news swirling other than the big layoffs and the furloughs, other than Roman Reigns getting pregnant with twins. So he's going to be 5 strong. And also that allegedly, reportedly, they don't want any mention of his name on SmackDown where he is currently residing as a wrestler.
Interesting.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. That's a little lighter. So let's start on the light note. And what do you think of Roman Reigns taking a stand, deciding, look, I'm not going to do WrestleMania. I have a pregnant wife. I live with an older person, and I don't want to risk it.
Look, I mean, the man has to make choices in his personal life. And as much as we want to say our jobs are our life, I think there has to be that separation. And so Roman Reigns made the right decision for him and his family. I always try to think of these situations in the context of would I have done the same thing he did? As difficult as that decision may have been, I would have had to. I think when it comes to your health and the health of your family and putting that at risk, I'm sorry. I think for me that's first and foremost over doing WrestleMania, going to work that day.
I agree with you. I do think that it does kind of vary depending on the quote unquote power you have or the level you are in, the status that you have. If you're John Cena, if you're Roman Reigns, you're probably going to get away with it. I'm thinking if you're Sin Cara, I mean, I don't even know if he's still there. Or, I don't know, Buffalo Bouncer squash match jobber.
One of those guys we saw this week. Yep.
You may want to go if, not that you want to, but you may feel forced to go, right?
Well, yeah, and circumstances are that we have a lot of healthcare workers that are having to go into work whether they want to or not.
Yes.
You know, it's part of the principle of what they signed up for. I believe if you have a choice in the matter, which I guess Roman Reigns did think that he does, and maybe he did think this could be it. This decision could be it for me, which is interesting because you led with the rumors of not mentioning Roman Reigns across broadcasts or anything, kind of just wiping his name from the record. He's on top. He's on top of his game, and he could also be not existing anymore, if that makes sense.
I know, and WWE has a way of showing how bitter they can be with superstars that, you know, might have started there or might have really gone strong there, and then when these superstars decide, look, I'm going to go elsewhere, they get bitter.
Yeah.
Like Chris Jericho was no longer on the roster for a while, and there's a lot of people not on the roster, but on the website. Like that is their passive aggressive way of saying,
so true.
You guys don't exist anymore.
Yep. No,
we're mad at you, until like years later they'll put them in. I think if Chris Jericho died, suddenly he's our superstar Chris Jericho or something like that's exactly what happened at China.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't going to put her in the Hall of Fame, but she died in that year. They went in.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think you nailed it. I think that's just been WWE's MO. They very oddly similar to, and I know we don't want to go into politics on this podcast, but I'll say it's oddly similar to some other people in positions of power in the way that they are handling the business right now. And as a fan, it's really unfortunate to have to experience that side of the business. You know, you just want to be able to turn on the TV, watch your shows, watch SmackDown, watch Raw, watch all of the content that they are supposed to put out and not have all of this kind of external factors playing into how you feel about WWE and the business in general.
Right. And look, and you can be as political or as non-political as you want. I mean, this is our podcast, like
That's
you said.
true.
So it doesn't matter, really. All I'm saying is I'm going to try not to get heated in this conversation.
Right.
It's just all the firings. I don't know the full story, but from what I'm reading and from what I know, there's some choices that felt like the choices were made based on selfish reasons more than for the better of people. Mm-hmm. People who work so hard and have been loyal, and that just didn't matter. You know, and that kind of upsets me, but I don't know the full story.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I was going to go with it too. I think I'm with you in that we don't know the full story. I think I've never been in a position like Vince McMahon's where you're running this global company and have thousands of employees. You know, where do you draw the line on your employee list to say, okay, well, the bottom of this list gets laid off? I've been through layoffs at companies and they're not easy.
No, they're not.
And you never, at least from the positions I've worked in, if you're not on the top, you don't really know what the conversations were surrounding the reasons why these people were let go. It's just always sad to see that happen. Especially to people, like you said, that have been loyal to WWE for quite some time. Yeah,
I mean, there were some shocking names that were on that list. And there were names that weren't so shocking. We have veterans like Heath Slater. We had Rusev. We had Zack Ryder. And then you start thinking, well, if these people got left, what happened to Alicia Fox, for example? We talked about her. And there's a lot of things that we're just wondering how much of it is favoritism, how much of it is politics, why did things happen the way they are, and the people that are getting furloughed, are they coming back? I mean, obviously they said only some will come back, so we just don't know, right? And just from what I read, sometimes I wonder if they had the ability to save more people at the cost of other things, obviously, right? You have they pick their battles, you know, but look, ultimately, this kind of pandemic has kind of revealed a lot of people's characters, I would like to say, right? So it's just, I'm sure Vince is in an extremely difficult situation. He just lost XFL, and you know he's probably stressed as hell. But it does seem like he's got our president on his side.
Yeah,
and that's the part that makes it's like this stable of this Republican stable or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah.
It just feels unfair.
I think it's not a secret that Vince and Linda are chummy with the guy who I hate. I'm not even going to use the term because I've never associated Trump with that. With that title. So with Trump, we talked about it last week. Essential business, WWE. In my opinion, no, not an essential business.
Not an essential business.
Cleared for essential business. Linda McMahon, when they had the Small Business Council, served as a member under Trump. Trump has been on several, made several appearances in WWE events.
He is in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he's in the Hall of Fame. So the relationship is clear. We've always known this about Vince as fans, is that he will drive these really hard decisions based on what he thinks best is for the business.
Yes.
Whether we agree with that or not is a different story.
Yes.
Vince will always be for the business. I think Vince is one of those people that if you gave him that decision Roman Reigns had to make, he would put the business over his family any day of the week.
Yes, I can see that, yes.
So kind of putting all of those personality traits together, what you read in the media right now is that, he put the shareholders for the WWE over having to do some of these layoffs.
Right. And I think they may be continuing to lay people off. I know they did do a salary cut for the higher ups out there, but we've had writers that have been there for a long time that are no longer there, referees.
Yeah. It's not easy.
No,
I mean, was there
sure
any of the news that really you were just like, oh, that sucks? Or is it just in general?
I think in general, it just sucks. I do understand having to do that. And also, playing devil's advocate, to see that he had to do that in a way, granted choosing his shareholders over his employees, to see that he had to do that it kind of humbled why he was so desperate in keeping live shows at the Performance Center to continue versus just putting on reruns or Forensic Files instead.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And there's contractual agreements he has to live up to. The shareholders have a stake in what's going on as well. The money, it's all dollars and cents at this point. I'm not Vince. We're not Vince.
No.
I don't know the emotional piece that goes into these decisions, but if I just look at it from a objective standpoint, you're putting numbers on paper and trying to balance your books. There's reports saying they've got a ton of money in reserves. There's reports saying X amount. Well, we know 12 cents went to each shareholder for WWE, which could have equated to saving a lot of the jobs that for the people that were laid off. But again, it's to your point, you got to try to look at both sides.
Yeah.
Was that the right call? Was it going to be something worse if they didn't do it this way? We don't know that piece of it.
Right. You just don't know at all. And I mean, we have Money in the Bank coming up next week.
Yeah.
Not next week, in 2 weeks or something like that. In May. How is that going to work? I mean, this is all crushing for fans as well.
Yeah.
To see a lot of what WWE grew up into having to kind of be cut.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah, some of these wrestlers aren't like John Cena level, but it still hurts because I think we empathize. You know, everyone in this country is going through a pandemic and we're all going through it together. And a lot of us are being furloughed or laid off. And so I think a lot of us automatically feel for these people who work so hard to have job stability, which I don't believe there's any such thing as job stability. In reality, there's no such thing as job stability. But so we're all kind of going through the same thing and we're all rushing to unemployment and not getting those unemployment checks on time. It's very, very stressful. It's like a real life storyline with Vince as the ultimate heel. In a way, you know?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It is. And for those of you who haven't felt it directly, and if you're a fan of WWE, you're feeling it just through it's being transmitted through the stories of the people who are posting who got laid off, and here's the impact it's having on our families. It's everybody's getting hit in one way, shape, or form with this pandemic.
Yeah. And then that's the fear that I had since the beginning of this pandemic is what our economy is going to look like when we get out. And now that also, I mean, not trying to sidetrack, but now that, you know, Trump gave every state their own liberties to open, some states are really freaking me out with their choices.
Oh, I know. Yep. And this is what only just a few days after they've been given that power to do whatever. How long have we been in quarantine now in the state of California?
I think since March 17th, around that time.
So this is like week 4, maybe.
Yeah, this is week
5.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a different climate depending on where you live. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, and not even just like, oh, okay, we live in LA, but LA has so many different little counties and little cities. Exactly. And our city is a lot more, I think we listen a lot.
Yes. So you observe it just like amongst your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Versus California versus Florida. Just so different, the way that they're handling things.
Yeah. So anyways, but that's something to think about is how Florida handles it as well. I mean, and I don't know, I could be wrong, but I'm going to say something about California. I read that Ventura County wants to reopen some of their beaches.
Yeah, they were looking at it. I haven't seen what their numbers are to see, but I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I'm just like, without a vaccine, I'm one of those, let's be ultra conservative with reopening. If we don't have a vaccine, why are we going to do that to ourselves? But
I think it's just as soon as we open, more people get sick again. It's like, back you guys go, back into your homes. Right. It's just going to be up and down until we find a vaccine. So I don't know how we're going to handle it. But
yeah, agreed.
All right, so the next news tidbit is that WWE had plans for NXT Japan expansion. And among, WWE's always trying to expand. At one point, they tried to buy Pro Wrestling Noah, which is a Japanese production, but a deal couldn't be reached. Anyways, so apparently, WWE's plans for NXT Japan expansion is not going to happen for a while. There's not much news going on, but I did pick this up because I thought that it was obvious that obviously they're not going to continue to look at international waters for the time being, but it is kind of sad that everything is being affected. Everything is being affected. So WWE might be hurting quite a bit.
Yeah. The only time will tell. I think week by week, we're seeing either people being cut, different aspects of the business being shrunk or cut or on hold. It's unfortunate, though, because you can see that the WWE had these long-term vision, short-term vision plans that we're just going to have to wait and see what the state of the company is after we get out of this situation.
It's interesting because WWE is the echelon or the pinnacle of wrestling, and they always want to mark their territories in different big territories. NXT UK. Now they want to do NXT Japan. And, where they're going to go next with this, should this happen. But obviously they had to stop, So how much of this is going to have to be rebuilt? How much of this is going to not happen ever? It's just, it hurts everybody. It hurts everybody, really.
If you were behind the strategy team for, the day that we exit this pandemic, what would you make your priorities? I think for every company, they're having to relook at that, or eventually we'll have to relook at what the priorities of the company are. It looked like WWE was trying to chase some expansion through other countries.
Yes.
Do you think you would still prioritize that over some of the other things that they were chasing?
I've never owned a business, or rather, I've never owned a business where a lot of people were underneath me or there were people essentially that had to work under me. So I don't know how that would look like, but I imagine based on my experience as someone who works underneath a boss and all those things, your business cannot thrive if your employees are unhappy. So to me, I would have to focus on making my employees happy or bringing them better morale, bringing the fans better morale, rather than expanding at that time for the time.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I agree. I think it's a combination of ensuring that the fans still love the property and the content. And you're right. I can't even imagine going back to work after all of this and be the same energy and everything that I was before it.
Yeah.
That definitely will take some time to rebuild.
Yeah.
But there will be some excitement just to say, hey, I'm out of quarantine and I'm back doing what I love, which is kind of nice too.
Yeah, of course. It's exciting to think about, and it's also scary to think about.
Oh yeah.
Because our worlds are never going to be the same. I think it's going to be different. I think even when I start working at gyms again, I think I was telling you this morning, I imagine that I might have to wear a mask, maybe 10 people at a time, distancing. And I love that public gyms, you have to clean every piece of equipment. And I hope that people are more strict about that. It's just a very different world.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
All right. So we are going to briefly, very, very briefly talk about Raw results, NXT results, and SmackDown results. I'll tell you why. Because I don't remember them. So, Anne, if you remember some notable storylines, you can actually go for it if you want.
I would say just kind of in general terms that NXT, to me, continues between NXT and SmackDown. Those continue to be some of my favorite shows week for the week. Yeah. Raw, Raw doesn't seem like anything has been progressing on Raw, which is unfortunate because I thought Raw used to be the bigger show of between SmackDown and Raw for some time. But I think maybe since SmackDown went to Fox, that there's been a lot of changes since then. A lot more of the roster is on SmackDown that I find interesting, and the storylines that I find interesting are on that show. So I would say NXT I give accolade to because it felt like season 1, episode 1 to me. Yeah,
I think that NXT is continuously bringing us new faces because they have a lot of faces.
Yeah.
The storylines don't seem, most of the time, with some exceptions, to go past 2 years.
Right.
Right.
Which is excusable, though, because I think that's the whole point of NXT, right? Is bringing up new talent.
Yes.
Showcasing them, showcasing the wrestling ability over storylines. So I love the churn. And I even think within this whole pandemic environment, they were able to bring freshness out of all the 3 shows. There was people I haven't seen before.
Yes.
There was matchups I haven't seen yet. So it was highly entertaining compared to Raw, for example.
And it does feel like they have a little bit more liberty. I mean, a lot more before they were on TV or televised, but now it still feels better. Whereas SmackDown is very televised, but it feels more like a sports show.
That's a good point.
If that makes any sense.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like almost like you hear the NFL.
Yeah, a little bit more refrained, I'm sure, because there's certain things that they can't do or say on Fox that they could on USA Network.
Right.
So that's an excellent point. I think the nice thing about SmackDown is they do have to keep it somewhat fresh because of that that expectation. So they definitely had a lot more progression in the storylines. I don't see anything to highlight from Raw. Do you?
I'm looking down this results, and it just all seems like the same match that we would be hashing out from last 2 weeks ago, right? So we have Drew McIntyre, Andrade. I feel like we've seen variations of Andrade nonstop.
Right. He's around a lot, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like we have Bobby Lashley again, Charlotte, who was on Raw as well as NXT this week. Well, that was cool.
Yeah, it's nice that she can hop around like that.
Nairi and Kairi again, and Asuka, and then just I'm not knocking on Raw, but it feels a lot more like I'm watching a really long Taco Bell, Doritos, Pizza Hut commercial. Yeah,
it's true. Was there anybody
wrestling
that had? I think this week was telling too, because this week was the those last episodes would have been the layoff. So was there anybody on that show that is no longer with WWE?
Sarah Logan is no longer.
Okay,
I think that's it in that list. But I will say that, Street Profits introduced Bianca Belair. But
right.
I mean, they already kind of did that.
Yeah, again.
I did hear that you were just reminding me that tonight's Raw, this is recorded before tonight's Raw, by the way, Maria Kanellis and Mike Bennett are going to make an announcement. She tweeted, though, but it's a very vague tweet because all she did was tag every single wrestling promotion out there, from New Japan, AEW, Ring of Honor to WWE, saying she has big news that she's going to announce tonight on Raw. But that doesn't mean she's going to be on Raw.
Okay.
Right? I think it might mean, or she said during Raw or something.
Okay.
So she might just be faking it out and tweeting that she's going to literally tweet during Raw, who knows?
Right. That's a good point.
That's how I read it, but everyone's all the headlines are, is she coming back on Raw even though she got fired? And it's like,
Interesting.
Anyway, so Raw, not much happens. I think in a way it's just like almost like they're just continuing to churn, even though they don't have much content. They have a limited amount of wrestlers, so I understand the repetitiveness.
Yes.
I'm sure they're struggling too to be creative.
Oh yeah.
So
they cut writers too, I'm sure. So that plays into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we have NXT. Where my favorite part of the NXT was Velveteen Dream. I love that guy.
He's great.
I love that the whole time he was there, he was social distancing on a couch.
Yeah.
On a podium. Finn Balor came out a little bit. But
which was so freaking creepy. Because I think you and I were mid-conversation while Dream was talking, and then I look up and there's Finn kind of staring from behind the pillar, and I'm like, that is like a horror movie right now. But I like this idea that they're going to have a match soon.
Yes.
It's going to be good.
Yes. It's that's probably the most exciting part. I love Xia Li, that Chinese girl. She's amazing. I think she needs to do something. They have to use her more, is what I think. They don't use her enough. Because I forget about her, and then when they use her, I'm like, why aren't they using her? As soon as she gets into on the podium, not the podium, the ramp. And then there's that Isaiah Scott versus Akira Tozawa. I love Tozawa. Who else? Tegan Knox. That Tegan Knox and Raquel Gonzalez. I think Raquel Gonzalez got let go. I'm not sure, guys. I
think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But and this one guy who looks a little what's it called? Hitler approved. This guy.
Oh, yes. When I was like, he looks like a hipster. And you're like, he looks like he's Aryan.
Yeah, so basically all that happened. And then we forgot about Matt Riddle, Timothy.
Oh, yeah. It's nice to see them.
Yeah, nice to see them.
Sorry, I was trying to pull up the list.
It's cool.
Just to refresh my memory.
I know.
Of the sadness.
And then Karrion Kross attacks Tommaso Ciampa backstage. That's about it. But already, see, a lot of things are happening. Face it. We have to go down the list to remember these names.
Yeah.
You know, in just 2 hours, you can get so much more packed in that rather than 3 hours of order Domino's Cheez-It pizzas or whatever. I don't know.
It's just more entertaining.
Yes.
It just feels like they haven't been really affected by the pandemic to me.
Right.
Out of all the shows.
Yes. I mean, they're wrestling in their home anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So the majority of the roster would have been there, which is nice. Leo Rush, he was NXT, right?
Yeah, and he also had to make an exit as well.
Yeah, trying to go through this. I'm like, I don't know which ones are NXT people or not, but this is
funny because it says
list.
The full list, but I know there's a lot of people missing on that list.
Oh, I'm sure. Because this looks very short to me.
Yeah.
And I heard it was in, maybe at least 30 name wrestlers. And probably a lot that I've never even
a lot of
heard
writers. I saw a funny article. I wouldn't say funny, but I just thought, like, why is this an article about the writer who wrote the Mandy Rose romance with what's his face?
With Otis?
Yeah, with Otis.
Oh, no.
Yeah, see, so a lot of people like that.
No.
Yeah, so she got...
Now what are they going to do?
Yeah, now they're going to still be making out.
Oh, here's a longer list. But again, I don't know names
but it's not much longer, I think, right? Unless you found like the jackpot.
I would estimate 35 people on this list.
Okay.
But it's just sad.
It is. It really is sad. Who knows, though? Everyone has a future somewhere, maybe.
Yeah, that's what you have to hope, right?
Right. The problem is every promotion right now are probably struggling to hire. Maybe AEW right now is like, this is a moment to grab some wrestlers. I mean, who knows?
It's tough because, the media is going to want to spin anything that comes out WWE related. I mean, when you look at the timing of everything, it's not great because they announced their essential business and then 2 days later they laid off all these people.
Yeah.
It is rough in that world right now.
I'm sure. And then on SmackDown, some notable things. Obviously, we had the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, which again felt like the same thing as that WrestleMania one because they had one person per tag team represent.
Over and over again, this match. It feels like.
New Day won, thanks to Big E. Same thing with King Corbin and Elias. They have an ongoing thing. Daniel Bryan defeats Cesaro. Dana Brooke defeats Naomi, which sucks because Naomi's amazing, but lately she just seems like she's jobbing to every woman out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Really sucks. Then, they're escalating the Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose
I'm down for that.
I'm
down for that one.
They're going to have a match for sure. Then we have Tamina who defeats Sasha Banks via pinfall, which is so funny because a couple years ago, Sasha Banks had a match with Nia, I think Nia is bigger than Tamina, definitely width-wise.
Yeah.
But it was a pay-per-view, and it was like, okay, there's no way that Sasha Banks would win. But she did.
Maybe she has like if she had like a crowbar or something in real life. Yeah. We're on the same page when it comes to size differences. It's just funny.
That's the thing. Like, you can't, like, if Sasha Banks can't pick up her right leg, there's no way. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you're right. Unless she was like a heel and she had a crowbar or a kendo sticks.
Why I thought crowbar, but
right, it's funny. But like, that's the stuff that it's like, it's not credible.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason it's worked for some people, like when you think about Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, is that he showed everybody he could I'm doing quotes because I know Andre had to help him in lifting him. Yeah. But, you know, there was some proof that he was strong enough to be able to handle a guy of that size, where Sasha hasn't shown us that yet. She's a very good wrestler. I just haven't seen that type of strength in her yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. But they have a lot of those that you're just like, all right, if you guys are really having a cat fight,
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I know.
But anyway, that's what happened on SmackDown. Tamina beats Sasha Banks. So Tamina is on her way to go after the women's championship against Bayley. Soccer mom.
Soccer mom, my favorite.
Yeah. And it's funny how we noticed, how do these women still, where do they get their hair done, their eyebrows done, their makeup done? Like,
essential business.
Oh, yeah. Essential business. That's the thing, though. Does essential business include getting your hair cut, getting your makeup done, entertainment?
Being on camera is part of the business.
I swear.
I know.
No words. No words.
Meanwhile, my eyebrows and my like mustache are growing.
I know. I have like one eyebrow. Guys, one eyebrow.
Well, it's all good. You still look beautiful.
She's like, hello, sir. I'm like, that's me.
Right?
That's me.
We're men now.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps up our talk about wrestling for this week. Tune in next week for another wrestling conversation. Who knows what's in store this week, what Vince has up his sleeve.
Oh, man.
It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. And it's going to be interesting to feel the sadness of knowing that you're watching WWE and not going to see some people that you were so used to seeing. I know Rusev was gone for a while, but now we know for a fact we probably won't see him for a long while in this, in WWE. Mm-hmm. Anyways, in the meantime, you can follow the both of us at Team Amasian, and you can follow Anne where at
Anne Campia.
And you can follow me at KAORIOUS. Thank you guys so much for listening. Spread the word, and we will talk to you next week. See ya.
Thank you.